everybody. This is John Bura from MammothInteractive.com. We make games, apps, and training content like the content you're about to see. You can go to MammothInteractive.com to learn how to code for free. You can go there to subscribe and get thousands of videos to watch and build your own apps. And you can also go there to play your own games. We have a bunch of HTML5 games that you can go and play. So I highly recommend that you check it out. Now, in this tutorial, we're going to be working with SpriteKit here, and we're going to be working with UIColor. In addition, I'm going to show you something really neat. All right, so first things first is you need to go to File, New, and go to Project here. And all I've done here is I have set up an iOS SpriteKit game. Now remember, there are different kinds of applications, so we're just going to be going and using the game here. Okay. Now you should set up your game Swift file to look like this. And what I've done here is I've added in my own function called spawnSprite. All right, so you want to add that in here and delete everything else within that file here. Let's go ahead and let's add in a sprite. So we're going to add in a var. We'll call this, well, I usually like to call it player, and we'll make that equal to an SKSpriteKitNode. You need a question mark and two brackets here. Okay, in our override function, we'll type in spawnSprite. That's the function we've just gone and added in here. And this will call it because the override function, what it will do is it will get called when the scene is loaded. So we now have spawnSprite, and we need to actually go and spawn it. So I'm going to go to player is equal to SKSpriteKitNode, and we're going to add in a UIColor and a CG size. So let's go ahead and up to the top here, and let's add in a UIColor. So we'll call this player color. Now notice how I actually said player color and not just some kind of random mess. That may sound trivial, but it's super important. Okay. Now I'm going to say that this is equal to a UI color, and this is the way that Xcode and Swift deals with color. In fact, it's a very simple way that computers deal with color. It's an RGBA value, or red, green, blue, and alpha value. So the red value, let's just go ahead and let's give it something like 0.5. And by the way, just a little tip, if you put all of your RGB values to the same number, doesn't matter what the number is, it's going to be a shade of gray. So if we want this to be slightly more red, let's go ahead and let's add in the 1 here, and we'll leave that here. Okay, so we'll just simply add that in here. And you can see that we now can go and plug in player color, and it will work here. We can also add in a var called player size, and we'll make that equal to CG size, and we'll add in a width and a height, and we might as well make it 50 by 50. Okay, and in the CG size here, we can just type in player size. Now, why would we do it like this instead of just adding it in here? Well, if you add in your variables up at the top here, you can go and tweak them later. It also needs a position, so we're going to go to player.position is equal to CG point, okay, and we're going to say CG rect get mid x self.frame, and what that's going to do is that's going to put it right in the middle, and we're going to go to CG rect get mid. In this case, it's going to be get mid y, and it's going to be self.frame as well. Right? What does this do? Well, CG rect get mid x, x is across, y is up and down, and what that's going to do is that that's going to allow us to put it in the middle. That's all that that does there, and there we go. Now the most important part is we need to go to self.addChild, and we're going to go to player exclamation point. All right, so there we go. We now have all of that here. We can go ahead and run it. And I think the last time I was running an iPad simulator, so it has to close that down and pull up the iPhone simulator here, and there we go. It gives kind of a salmon color. So let's pull this down all the way to 0 here, and let's pull that down and make it a complete red here. Okay. Now let's also change the background color, and just for fun, we can go to var. We'll call this background color, make it a UI color, and keep in mind here that these RGB values are CG floats. That's going to be very important in just a second here. Okay, and I'm going to make these all 0.2, and this gives an off black color, which I absolutely love. And the alpha, of course, is the transparency. Just set that to 1.0. In our override function here, we'll go to self.backgroundColor is equal to, well, background color. Now, one thing that I should mention here, see this background color? It works, but it's too close to this background color. So let's add in custom at the end. So that way we won't get confused. Background color, color custom. Okay, and that way we know what's what. Now let's go ahead and let's run that one more time. And we'll see here we got a background with a red here. And just a tip, if you put this down to like 0.85 or something like that, it won't be the standard red color. Standard colors are boring, and in games, colors are extremely important. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the color of this whenever we touch here. Now, in this override function, touches began here. In this 4 touches here is where we're going to add in our code. Okay, and what is that code going to be? Well, let's go ahead and let's say what we'll do is we will add blue. Okay, we'll add blue to this color here. So we'll add in a variable here, and we'll call this color blue. And this is going to be a CG float, and we'll make it equal to 0.0 at this point in time. Okay, and what we can also do is add another. We'll call this float color add. We'll make it a CG float and make it equal to 0.0. What's the difference between a float, a double, and a CG float? The answer is that there are some slight differences between each of these types of variables. For now, you don't necessarily need to be super concerned about that. All you need to know, especially if you're a beginner, is that you need to only put in and you need to only make sure that CG floats go with CG floats and doubles go with doubles, etc. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set, every time we touch here, we're going to set the color blue here. So we're going to go to player.color is equal to UIColor, okay, and the red is going to be 0.8, the green is going to be 0.0, and the blue is going to be color blue. Okay, we're going to set that here, and it's going to be 1.0. Now, what we can also do, if we really want to, is we can set the player color to use the color blue here. But the way that this works is that when the program gets loaded, it calls the spawn sprite, and we don't see this code ever again. All of our action is within this override function here. Okay. Now, right now, it doesn't really do anything because, well, we haven't told it to do anything else. So let's go and let's add in this color blue is equal to color blue plus float color add. Right? What does that mean, and what was that going to do? So every time we touch, we are going to add in, we're going to make the color blue equal to the color blue, plus we're going to add in this float here. So we're going to slightly change the color every time we touch it. Then we have to display the change. So we set what we want to do, and then we have to actually display it. So let's take a quick look here. Now remember, the override function touches began is every time you touch here, okay? And you can see that the more times I touch it, you can see the more purple it gets, okay? And that's kind of neat. Now we can take this concept to another level. We can also add in, for example, var color red. Make it a CG float, okay? And we'll make it equal to 0.0, okay? And we'll also call this float color add red, make it equal to 0. We'll call this color subtract, okay? I'll make it equal to the same thing here, okay? So here we go. We now have all of this here, and what we're going to do is we're going to change red to color red. And we might as well start this off at 0.85 because that is what we start the player color at. And we can do the same thing here. We can go to color red is equal to color red subtracted and we subtract float color subtract, and then we display it here. It's very important that you go and you and display it here. Now, one thing that is that's interesting here, it says cannot be applied to CG float or CG double, and the reason is that right now this color float is a double, which is another kind of decimal variable. It's not an integer where you don't get to have decimals here. So we have to make sure that it's a CG float. Like variables need to be with like variables. So in this small example, we are going to add color and we are going to subtract color. And that looks pretty cool. Okay, and I think that actually looks really neat in my opinion here. All right, so there we go. You can go and you can change the color of objects here. And personally, as far as game mechanics go, changing color is one of my favorites. It's easy to do. As you can see, this tutorial isn't very long, but it's easy to do. And it actually is very engaging. Colors are super important. And this even goes back to nature. For example, some animals will change color when they are threatened. So if you have, let's say, a game that where most of the time a game object is friendly, it's green, but for maybe a few seconds it turns red, you have to avoid it. That is mimicking nature, and that's something that a lot of good game designers do. So this pretty much concludes the tutorial. I want you to go and subscribe to this channel for more updates on what we're doing at mammothinteractive.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and you can even subscribe to get thousands of videos just like this at mammothinteractive.com. In addition, you can see Udemy links down below, which are at a discounted price. And if you complete one of these courses, that is, complete all the lectures within the Udemy course, you could be awarded $500 with the Mammoth Scholarship. So each month we give one lucky winner $500 to complete one of our courses here. So you can go ahead and take the courses below at a discounted price, and if you want to, you can enter into that Mammoth Scholarship by just completing a simple Udemy course. The more courses you complete, the better chance you have at winning, as well as the courses carry over to the next month. So if you complete 2 courses this month and you don't get the scholarship, then the next month you have 2 courses plus whatever many courses you finish in that month. All right. So thanks for listening, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial.